think we can just give a little bit brief, and I can start share my screen. So
Mhm.
for those who just jumped on this, maybe they've lost or somehow entered this webinar, to remind what is this webinar about, we are going to talk about how to build an email list of fans who are ready to buy a language course. And as you see, my name is Giorgio Morocica. I am the head of brand awareness at Edugo AI, and we help language businesses and language teachers to create their own online language courses. And as you can see, I have a host today, which I'm going to give very shortly the floor to introduce himself, Jacob. Jacob, I haven't asked how to pronounce correctly your name. Suckow?
Yeah, Suckow. Quite frankly, I don't even know how. My grandpa was an orphan, and it definitely got shortened in the like trip on over here. There's an ending at the end, so I'm impartial, but Suckow is usually good stand-in.
Succow. Oh, okay, perfect. Founder of Email Empire. And what are we going to cover in this session? Some bullet points that I'm just go through really quickly. So we are going to cover a little bit what is the what a daily list building habits to send opt-ins and subscriber engagement to the roof. We're going to talk a little bit about traffic and content strategies to help you show up at every stage for your customer journey, the pillars for making daily sales from your email. And at the end, I'm going to cover a bit how to create your language course offer with Edugo AI to promote and sell via an email list. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen, and I'm going to give the floor to Jacob to introduce himself and share a little bit of your knowledge, Jacob, on how we can leverage email, or how teachers and language businesses can leverage email to promote and sell their language courses or promote the language business in general. So, Jacob, please introduce yourself. The floor is yours.
Awesome. Well, thank you all so much for joining today. I know we're all over time zones and timing is different for everybody, but we're relatively close to Friday for everyone. So I'm stoked because it's always a fun day to do things. Everyone's energy is high. But I was super excited when Giorgio and I got in touch to collaborate, because between the platform and what they have to offer and the niche that all of you guys are in, there's huge opportunity right now with so much extended travel, so much focus on digital nomadism. The demand for any kind of a language marketplace is absolutely through the roof. And the number one bottleneck typically for most courses in terms of how it is that they can grow is the size and health of their email list over time. So rewind a little bit and some background about me. I have been working in everything email sales and marketing for about 8 or 9 years now, from cookie dough company in CPG, which sounds cheesy and was a ton of fun, to big time SaaS, all the way through to coaches, e-commerce, courses, memberships, anything under the sun. And my big goal, after I've spent the past 5 years working with clients and services and seeing what's happening inside of email marketing, is to come forward with a brand new set of strategies that's much more effective, specifically for solopreneurs, coaches, folks who are starting from the ground up on their own and aren't trying to create these massive ad-fueled businesses. What they're trying to do is build something that they can really, truly help their customers with and sustainably grow with a series of just daily habits and strategies along the way. I'm going to use that as a kickoff point to jump into our presentation here. And if at any point in time you can't see anything goes wrong, shouldn't be an issue, but feel free to drop in the chat and yell and let me know that it's all breaking down at the seams. So in terms of what we've got going on today, topic at hand is building your email empire. Now, that might sound a little bit large and aggressive. Why? Well, the reason is that I've seen the number one floor for anyone trying to grow directly correlated to the size and health of the email list that they've built over the years. It's very easy to see the differences between a business that's built up this massive list on the face of cheap and easy Facebook ads in comparison to very small and intimate audiences that are a tenth of the size that can do the same numbers. And that's blown me away. So what I want to do today is walk you guys through a blueprint. And that's the blueprint that I've used in the past 6 to 9 months here to build out an audience of diehard fans that can't wait to buy from me, all with a list of less than 5,000 subscribers all the way through. And quite frankly, this is something that works even if you've got 100, 200, or 300, and you're very much so just starting out. So kicking everything off here, I want to start with why exactly we're all here. I know I just ranted, and we can talk all day long about why you should be building a list. Seems like just about everyone on social is telling you this every single day. And we're seeing more often than ever before ad accounts being shut off, unintentional shadow bans, things like that, that just happen from you using the platform. And although that doesn't mean that you should never use social, because it's an absolutely beautiful platform to be able to grow on and connect with your customers, it does mean that you should be wary of how much you rely on that as your traffic source. Because the best place that you can build a business is on an owned channel, right? Something that we would call native. And that, in turn, makes your email list one of the most valuable assets that your business will ever build. Because even if you change languages, you change niches, you change businesses entirely, the one thing that you will still own, no matter what it is that you do, is this list of subscribers that you build up over time who are interested in who you are, what you can help them with, and where you're trying to take them. Now, who am I? We've talked a little bit about what my background looks like, but I want to highlight a couple of things because it's not all perfect. So over the past 5 years, everything from software startups and e-com companies, courses, and info products have been my main focus. And in that time, I've seen upwards of $1 million plus in revenue growth in less than 12 months. And I've also seen massive failures on launches that have had damn near the same budgets as what we've made inside of that year. And now my big goal is taking everything that I've learned to help online business owners like you guys get 5 to 10x more revenue from your email lists without having to feel bad, stressed, concerned, worried, or overwhelmed with the entire process. So where we want to start off is reframing the way that we think about list building and email marketing. I'm sure you've all heard of the term funnels, right? And if you haven't, it's just about everywhere you can run into it. And I want to give you a little bit of background on where that all comes from. So traditionally in the internet marketing model, you can thank Russell Brunson and everyone else who's popularized this for it. We have what you would call a funnel. And a funnel means that you have your top of funnel, which is as wide as humanly possible. This is the biggest group of your potential customers. They consider literally anyone who could benefit from your product a good fit for here. And the goal is to narrow that down as we go, whether that be through copy and messaging, offers and products, strategies and events. You continually narrow down the qualification of those folks until they get right to the bottom, where they are either primed to purchase, repeat customers, they're subscribing to your offers, whatever else that may be. Now, that's good if the only goal is to get someone to purchase once and then leave. But if we're trying to continuously create new products, new offers, new opportunities for our customers to continually be able to serve them results and make an impact on their life all the way across the board, well, this funnel model is no good because it pushes out about 80% of your audience at the bottom that just sits there. That's typically getting ignored because they're not primed and ready to buy. And because the number one variable that you don't have control over isn't perfect. And that's timing. It's the one thing we never get a chance to understand. Is it budget? Is the time right? Are they planning to travel? Whatever else it may be that makes them a signifier for a perfect customer for your language course. You simply don't get the ability to know whether that's true or not. So we shift it and we focus much more on what I would call an ecosystem. Now, why an ecosystem and what does that even mean? So if you notice just by graphic here, we go from this model of squeezing and narrowing to a wide open circle. And that circle right there means that at any given point in time, everyone in your audience is at multiple different points inside of their journey. And we can fit a hell of a lot more people inside of a circle than we can inside of a funnel. So why is it important? Because as they go from opt-in to purchase, to repeat purchase, to changes in circumstance and experience with your products, well, quite frankly, you're probably not going to want them to leave after they make their first purchase or decide that they're not going to. We want to be able to nurture folks along the way. We want to be able to help them, educate them, show them how it is your offers are able to actually help them achieve the desired goal that they want. And instead of thinking about squeezing everyone out, pushing them across a straight line, we want to understand that there are different channels, different statuses, and different purchase points for every single person's customer journey. It's going to be different. The beautiful thing about email is that it becomes the glue between every channel, every stage of the customer journey, and every purchase that you have. Now, how does that work? That's what we're going to cover Thanks. So first and foremost, in order to continue to create this ecosystem, you need to be adding new people in constantly, right? This is the one thing that we have in common between a funnel-based model and an ecosystem. Even if you're doing a great job of converting your opt-ins to customers, you still need more opt-ins. In order to do that, you need a wider reach. And if you want to get better at anything that you have going on, we need a fresh set of subscribers who are newly motivated to be able to go on the journey that you're going to take them on. So the questions that usually come up first is, well, what does that look like, right? Do I use ads? Do I use Google ads? Do I use Facebook ads? Should I use Instagram? What social media channel do I have? There's typically about 40 different questions at any given time that we could dive into, but this is the first point that I love to stop because I want to make this interactive. And I want to know, in terms of list building, right? What have you guys heard? What are you using currently? Or what has been the biggest sticking point for you when it comes to building an email list? If you have any questions, drop them in the chat, or Giorgio, right? I know you guys typically get these from folks who are using the platform. What do you see usually as a big sticking point for folks when it comes to building their email list? Where are they stuck at?
Yeah, don't be shy. Please do share in the chat. If you tried at least to build an email list from your audience, we'll love to know a little bit so we can make this interactive. So don't be shy. Drop in the chat, and I will read the answers if there are any. How do you collect email from your audience? What is your strategy to collect emails from your target audience?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
if you have
100%.
a strategy, if you don't have, let us know as well.
Yeah, so someone sent a message and they mentioned that they're using MailChimp to collect. That's awesome, right? Understanding what email service provider you're going to be using to be able to do that is great. But when we talk about it strategically, what we mean is understanding where your customers are, what they want to hear from you, and finding ways to engage with them, right? Because when we talk about an email list as an ecosystem, this isn't just a way for you to take your customers from interested to purchase, right? So what happens instead is this is the opportunity that we have to have a direct line of communication back and forth between all of our perfect customers. It's one of the most valuable research points that you could have in any portion of your business, right? So if we're stuck and we're trying to figure out how people who want to learn a new language, specifically your language, get to that point, what are they doing? Well, they're probably searching, right? They're likely watching different videos and short tutorials on specific small points of the language that don't really have anything to do with getting them a really good result, as I'm sure you guys know. And they're probably living like everyone else does on a couple of social media platforms every single day, right? With the amount of time that we all spend globally at 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hours plus on any of our given devices, there's typically 1 to 2 channels that you can rely on consistently for your customers to show up on. And I would think for most of you, Facebook is probably an amazing platform, right, to look at talking about that. TikTok or anything video based, if you're doing short snippets in terms of language and folks and things like that. I've got a friend who teaches a Norwegian course and he's killing it with a small Facebook group and a YouTube channel. The point isn't to get hung up on which platform it is, but to pick one. Right? Pick one platform that you enjoy posting on, you enjoy spending time on, and make sure that you've got content for folks to find about you. And the second step, and this is why we only pick one platform, is to really ramp up content production, right? Daily posts on an individual basis so that you have this consistent set of reps. And most folks, they get hung up on the idea of that being too much work or worrying that no one's going to be engaging with it early on. And yes, that's true. But what happens is every single day you post, you're building up what we would call like a binge library, right? This is an opportunity for 6, 9, 12 months from now, someone to come across who you are and be able to go down a massive rabbit hole of all of the content that you've created. And what that does right on the front end is create a massive amount of trust. It shows them who you are as a person and why in the world they should be on your email list, which is the best place you get a chance to communicate with them. And the third one's engaging, right? So for me personally, even if I'm posting 3, 4, 5, 6 times a day across multiple different platforms, I'm spending 2 to 3 times as much as I am posting, engaging with my audience. right? This is huge because the amount of trust that it takes to invite someone into your inbox and actually have them read what it is that you're sharing and not just consume a lead magnet and bounce is massive when it comes to the quality of subscribers that we have. Also, every time that you engage with these folks in your audience, they're commenting on your stuff, they're sharing your posts, anything it is that goes into that scenario, you're creating more opportunities for content and you're learning about what problems, struggles, goals your perfect customers have in a very native environment without having to send surveys and do market research and all those things that just create a bunch of assumptions that aren't necessarily helpful for you along the way. Now, what does that look like for me? Just to give you an example. So I love Twitter and LinkedIn, right? I teach folks how to build an email list of customers and then actually sell to them in a way that doesn't take up their entire life and make them feel god awful about doing it. So places that do great for info products, for example, are Twitter and LinkedIn. And so for me, every single day, that's 3 tweets. At this point, it's like 2 to 3 LinkedIn posts, 30 minutes of engagement on both platforms, 5 connections and DMs per day with people who are specifically interactive, hyper interactive, or who seem like they'd be a good fit for the product. And then I'm sending 1 email every single day. Now, this is the caveat, right? Notice that these list building habits, this says daily. Do you need to do it every single day? No. But if you do not, your results are going to be massively slower and very discouraging. And so it's a lot of work to do something like this. And that's not out of the question. That's why the goal is to create a system that can take you anywhere from 1 to 1.5 hours so that it's not something that becomes this massive chore that takes up your entire day. And yeah, Giorgio, I'd love to hear it. Do you have comments, questions on this? Like,
Yeah,
let's dive right in.
definitely. Someone is asking me, is WhatsApp better than email? And maybe I can revert this question to you guys who are listening, ladies and gentlemen, whoever is listening to us. Which platform actually you're using to engage with your audience? Which platform are you posting more often? And that'll be also interesting to know from you. So type in the chat system. But maybe we can answer this question at the end. Is WhatsApp better than email? I don't know. It depends. Phoebe is asking me this question, so maybe we can address this question by the end, or if you want to address now.
Oh, we'll dive in right now. It's a great time to dive in because it highlights one big theme that a lot of folks don't cover, which is really unfortunate. So Phoebe, actually, I wouldn't necessarily say that it's better or worse than email. I think it serves a different purpose along the customer journey, right? Yeah, Anna says WhatsApp mixes my personal life. That can be really daunting, let me tell you. Yeah, it's really hard to step away from sometimes client and customer based work when it's in the exact place that you communicate with people who are important to you too. So in terms of where those go, they're actually just different points on the customer journey. So like if we look at the way that all of this interacts, social media tends to be the highest level of awareness that somebody might find you at, right? They go from, not having a clue to who you are, what you talk about, anything, right? They have an interest. You're typically producing content that aligns with that interest. And social media is the platform that connects those two things, right? Brings you guys together for the first time in most cases. Now, after that, what's going to happen is they're going to start to read through your content and they're likely going to consume it on a regular basis. And this is where we hit a different level of stage of awareness along the way, where they are now problem aware. Right? They're aware that they have a problem. They're aware that there's a solution out there and a goal that they're trying to achieve, and that you might be the person to be able to help them with that, or at least your content is helping them along the way. This is great. But the only issue with social media is that you're limited to character counts, to an algorithm, and to certain styles of post and content based on where it is that you're posting. It would be great for you to be able to have an unadulterated way to actually communicate in the most effective manner with whatever content it is that you choose. And that's where you start to invite them in a little bit more of an intimate setting. And that's your email list. This is the place where you get to share whatever it is that you want. This is a place where, because listen to this, 99% of people who do have an email, right, which is like 6 billion people in the world, it's an alarming amount, they check it every single day, right? So you want to talk about
now because I can't hear my thing. Go down, both of you, close.
And so if you want to talk about odds, right, and gaming the algorithm and whatever else it might be, if you're on LinkedIn, maybe 30% of your audience sees your content anytime you post. If you're on, Twitter or Instagram, maybe it's 10%. If you're on Facebook right now, maybe it's like 5%. If we're sending emails, it's 30, 40, 50, 60%, depending on whatever your open rates are. And if you're sending 3 to 5 times a week, you just increase the odds and the number of people that are there. Now, to Phoebe's question on where WhatsApp walks in, right? This is truly one-to-one. And one-to-one communication is amazing when somebody hits the point that they are problem aware and they are solution aware. They are aware that you have a solution that's going to be able to help them to actually achieve the goal it is that they're trying to overcome, right? They want to learn a new language. They know that you have a course specific in what it is that they want to learn. Now, what they're likely going to have, though, is questions, right? And individual concerns. And in an email inbox, when you're one of hundreds, thousands of people, it can be intimidating to start a one-to-one conversation. And so if you have an opportunity to invite one-off questions that are 100% private, that go directly to that person, this is probably the best place to use that. So in terms, it's a long way to answer it, but in terms of WhatsApp or any other individual messaging-based app versus email, it's not necessarily which one's better. It's what stage is that customer in? And when do I invite them onto that channel? And I hope that makes sense, Phoebe, because like I've seen so many people, I mean, over here in the States, right, WhatsApp is a little bit less adopted. So we do a ton of SMS marketing. And it's the best way for folks who are repeat customers, for folks who are really diehard and educated onto it, or it's a high ticket product and they might have concerns, right? That's what they should be focusing on at that point in time. Think of WhatsApp as almost a replacement for like a consultation call, right? Obviously, you can't have 150 15-minute calls with everyone who's considering purchasing your course. But you can invite them if they've engaged on a regular basis with your content, spending time on your sales page, whatever else it may be, to have a WhatsApp conversation with you, right? Say, hey, listen, any one-to-one conversation, one-to-one questions, I'll answer them within 24 hours if you send me a WhatsApp. Here's my number. Right? It's going to do amazing at carrying people over the line from consideration to actual purchase and adoption on the back end. It's also a great way to retain and encourage actual consumption and use of your products too, right? Because now it becomes an accountability tool along the way. That's outside of the scope of this conversation here, and I could talk about that all day long. But Phoebe, I hope that's super helpful and answered your question.
Yeah, just to add to 2 cents, we actually did a webinar about how to leverage WhatsApp for your language business, Phoebe. So for you or for anyone who's interested, I'm gonna drop the link in the chat so you can check it out later on.
Awesome. Love to hear it. So rolling back into this one, WhatsApp, quite frankly, very well may fit into this strategy for you, Phoebe, right? Maybe instead of 5 connection messages or DMs a day, it's if you have this funnel where you have people who have been messaging you in the past, maybe you just reach out, ask them how it's going, right? How things are going. Because the nice thing about a language business typically is you guys have an impact and it's a decision based on somebody's lifestyle, right? Either they've chosen to learn a new language because they're going to a new place, they're consistently spending time with someone who speaks this language, they don't necessarily understand it, they want to make an involvement in someone else's portion of life or take a step in advance, whatever else that may be. It's a really intimate relationship, you know, when you talk about adults learning at that stage and that point in time. And so having that kind of a level of interaction, massive benefit for your business and what that looks like across the board. Now, the number one thing when you see this list of 5 or 6 things right here that most people say is they start to freak out. They're like, Jesus, Jacob, that is a lot of work. There's no chance that I'm going to do that. And that's okay, because it's actually not all individual work. This email right here at the bottom, that's the content that gets used for every single one of the other 5 pieces above it. So I don't write 3 tweets, 2 to 3 LinkedIn posts, and 5 to 6 DMs every single day. I don't. I write 1 email every day. That email becomes the content for every other piece that goes up there. So when we look at it in terms of the connection messages in the DMs, if I know people that are going to get a question answered by the content that I've created, I send it to them individually in a reframed question. If I'm looking at it in terms of 1 long form LinkedIn post, it's almost identical to what my email is. It's just another channel of distribution. If we look at the tweets, this is 3 short, closer to platitude versions of whatever content I might be sharing, or a thread inside of there that gets posted along the way. So we're not creating 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 pieces of content every day. And this is really a big thing to focus on. We're creating 1 good piece of content as native as humanly possible, which is usually just free writing it, and distributing it across all the platforms that we know our customers are going to be spending the most time on. For your email list, this is valuable because you start to build even more trust and nurture the folks that know that you're the person for them, no matter what the timing is. For your socials, it's a way for you to gain even more distributed reach. And in terms of engagement, this is fuel for your comments and your replies and your DMs, right? This is what's going to spark ideas for you to be able to have much more quality conversations with the people that you're working with along the way. Also, you get an opportunity to refer them back over to this content inside of that process. And so, closing point on this is to make your life easy and as easy as humanly possible in doing so. If you know you need to create a lot of content, the goal isn't to create a lot of individual pieces. It's to create one piece and get the most out of it every single time you share it, whether it's a video, a blog post, an article, a social post, no matter what it is, one piece, multiple levels of distribution. It's how all those wonderful PR companies that we love do such a damn good job of getting eyeballs in front of everything. Now, the one thing that you need after you have your content is you need actual eyeballs on it, right? Maybe you don't have any followers on this platform that you know you should be on and it's brand new for you. Maybe you've got enough organic followers, but really what you're looking to do is scale things in terms of paid ads. Or maybe what you're looking to do is carry an audience from one platform that you've been active on historically that's not doing the best for you. Then there's a new one that you want to spend time on. What we need to do is identify 2 to 3 traffic sources that are going to be key for us. And for most of us, it's going to be 1 to 2 of them, the social platforms that we choose. Now, when it comes to creating traffic for your ecosystem and attracting people who come in and go throughout their journey, you want to obviously identify who your customers are and where they are, right? We've talked about that already. We want to attract them with the content that we talked about in the last slide over here. And there's 2 things that sit at the bottom here. And notice for everything that we've talked about thus far, I haven't made a mention of where emails fit in. It's because there's an order to it, right? We want to accelerate trust building and engagement with the 2 most intimate forms of communication that you can have with another person. And that's something face-to-face, whether it's one-to-many or one-to-one. It's very valuable. Exactly what we're doing right now. It's why I do so many events. Video and audio puts a face and a voice to all the content that these people see and hear. And psychologically, the amount of trust and faith and buy-in that creates with that person every time they read a piece of your content is massive. Because now, after I've watched a 30, 40-minute presentation of Jacob Suckow talking about emails, if you join my email list and a week from now you're getting them from me, you're not just reading an email, you're hearing my voice. Right? You're anchoring back to what it is that I shared. You're recalling the paradigm shift that you had when you said, oh, this ecosystem thing makes sense. What we're doing is creating much more deeply ingrained psychological anchor points every time someone consumes a piece of your content. So to recap, we're trying to make content creation efficient as hell by being on the right platform and turning one piece into 3 to 5 different posts and distribution methods. Then we're trying to make every piece of content as effective as humanly possible. Any way that you can inject your person, your face, your voice into your brand, I promise you the ratio of customers that you convert is going to go up wildly. All right, we buy from people that we like. Psychographics, things like that are wildly important. You don't just get to pick out your audience anymore and say, you know, Dave lives in this house. He's got this color hair. He makes this much money. And that means he's going to buy my course. No, it's not true. There's 30, 40, 50 plus different people out there on the internet that they can learn whatever language it is that you teach from. They're going to buy from you because they like you, because they trust you, and because the way that they think about the problem is solely due to the way that you've taught them. And it's massive. Now, this is where emails actually finally come in, because emails are the transfer of someone from motivation and seeking out a solution and connecting them with it, right? Email is the bridge that we use to take someone from interested and engaged on an outside platform to purchased and ingrained inside of your offer ecosystem, right? This is how we connect them. If anyone on here has tried to actually sell directly from their socials, I bet you the number one thing that they can tell you is that it fell pretty flat. And the reason is that those are not necessarily super effective selling platforms. And if you've had luck selling on Facebook, on Instagram, on LinkedIn, then I applaud you and I encourage you to try selling primarily in email, because your take rate is going to be a hell of a lot higher. It's just a much more intimate line of communication that you have with those folks. They get to refer back to it. They get to see an email, click through to it, check out the sales page. And every time that they think about it, they've got an opportunity to go back and revisit it. So this becomes the most natural place for us to be able to actually sell our offers. And it makes sense to take advantage of it in the channel that's going to be most effective, right? Efficiency is the name of the game here. We all have very limited time. And so we only want to try and sell on the platforms that are going to be most effective for us and for our audience. Now, these are different ways that each of these posts and channels actually fit into my strategy, right? So if I talk about 3 or 4 places that you should be, different pieces of content, it only makes sense to get a better understanding of exactly what purpose they serve throughout the funnel. So for me, I've got 3 or 4 different offers at this point. I do one-to-one services with clients. I'm sure some of you may do one-to-one coaching, right? Very specific one-to-one lessons. I've also got a community, assuming this is something that you all might also have, right? If you have other people that you can group learn with and have accountability and fun things that go along with it, it's a great way to be able to do it. And then I have one-to-many products. These are self-paced courses that people can take at their own rate. They're a hell of a lot more affordable. And I'm sure that this is probably a large portion of what you guys are working through as well. There is a stage that each of these pieces of content can connect them with. So for my client pipeline, right, that's primarily where all of that comes from, is through LinkedIn. You know, it's very specifically focused on taking folks who are interested at a very high level over towards that and attracting them into my audience. Do I sell to them in this fashion? No, but this is who I speak to on those platforms. That makes sense. So Phoebe, you're going to have a different message for somebody you're sending one-to-one WhatsApp messages for than you are if you're posting on Facebook, right? It's just going to be a different structure of message, because that's what's going to be most effective. I share this not to say that your strategy needs to be complicated, but that it makes sense to understand what subsections of your audience are on each channel that you're posting on. Because if you've got a clearer idea of who's engaging on what platform, you can make much better and much more effective content for each one. You'll have a much better idea of how to actually customize the content that you're sharing across the board. And so for me, here's an example of some of the things that get repurposed. So repurposed emails that become long form LinkedIn posts and threads for Twitter. There's audience building. And can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, cool. We're good. Yeah, my image is frozen on my computer. I just wanted to triple check here.
Yeah, just the image frozen for 1 second, but we can hear you pretty well.
Awesome. All good. We can always fix it up if need be. So on the audience building side of things, right, it's 3 tweets a day, 1 thread per week. And that's really focused on driving traffic towards my smaller digital products. Now, for me, when it comes to accelerating the people that are inside of my wheelhouse and getting them closer to a purchase and a higher level of engagement, that is the private Facebook group that I've got that I'm running right now and my email list. Now, when it comes to just general traffic, getting more people in my sphere, creating more awareness around my brand, it's 2 things. It's a podcast twice a week that I put out, gets shared with every channel that I have. And then it's also reposting the intro of that podcast for every single person that comes through with the links attached onto those platforms too. That creates my circle, right? It's got people at every single point of the journey along the way. Now I'm going to switch slides here, and it doesn't seem like it's going to fix the image portion. So I'm going to do 2 things and see if it fixes everything. And it doesn't seem to, but that's okay. We've got
we cannot
voice.
see you, but the
Yeah.
slides is now clear. The only
That's
thing
all
is
right.
missing it's you.
We can fix that in about 2 seconds. All right, we're back. Interruption, be gone. So selling with emails, right? This is probably the number one thing that you guys think of when you think of email marketing. And so there's 2 things that I want to make clear before we start to wrap everything up here. And that's the purpose of your email is to get people to consume your content. So lead magnets are great. It's a great way to get traffic. It's also a really awful way to tease people into thinking that they found a solution with the checklist, dictionary, whatever else it may be that you end up sharing with them. And so my advice to folks who are new to email marketing or putting more focus on it is to very specifically lead with and sell the content that you're sharing inside of there as the primary benefit for everyone who's going to be subscribing. Right. And let's double down on that. If you notice in what this opt-in looks like over here on the right-hand side, I'm not selling a lead magnet in that scenario. I'm pushing the content that they're going to learn, right? Reading my emails is the benefit that you're going to try and focus on inside of this scenario because I share better content there. And the second answer to it is always send more often, right? It's really hard to learn something when you only do it once a week or once a month. Email is no different, right? We get really good at sending these newsletters, where once a week, once a month, bi-weekly, whatever else it may be, you're sending out a couple of links, some curation, and a few things over to your audience. Now, the problem with that is twofold. One, you're only going to reach 20 to 40% of your audience at best every time that you send. And that also means that in order for you to actually talk to 100% of your audience, you would have to send 3 or 4 times a week to even have a shot at it. So if you're only sending once a week or once a month, 60+% of your audience is only hearing from you every 3 to 4 weeks. You know what happens when I don't hear from someone from 3 to 4 weeks? I forget about them. And we've lost all opportunity and momentum that we have from that person on side of your list. So the number one thing that you can do to actually accelerate that process, give yourself a better shot, and finally stop feeling like you're sending to a brick wall and not getting any responses, purchases, engagement, click-throughs on the emails that you're sending, is typically to send more often, which is why all of the systems that are here beforehand are what I share so hard. Because if you're sending 3 to 5 times a week, even if you're getting 20, 30% open rates, it's not going to be the same section of people every time that you send. If you want any chance at your entire audience being able to read the content that you work so hard to produce, it only makes sense to be able to send 2 to 3 times a week at minimum, right? That is what I recommend anyone and everyone start with. Now, they don't all need to be long form emails. 1 or 2 of those can be sharing something like a video or a podcast or an interview or anything else that you did. One of them can be a curation of all of your social posts. Now, you can literally take all the content that you've already created and just make sure that you share it inside of a different channel. But the importance is the frequency with which you show up for the folks inside of your audience, because that's how you build trust, that's how you build engagement, and that's how you get them to actually have any kind of desire for the offers and for your course and everything that is that you have for them. Because, God,
I may have one question here. So
yeah,
you increase the frequency of sending emails, let's say 2 to 3 per week.
Mm-hmm.
Which some teachers, some language business owners can kind of like, okay, that's a lot of work. Should you expect the open rate to go up, down, stay the same? What should you expect? Like click-through rate, open rate of those emails, and so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what's hilarious is they'll usually go up. You'll have a little bit of a maybe minimal spike in unsubscribes on the first couple emails that you send, but it's all about preparing your audience for it, right? And like, this is one of the big things that I teach in my group. It's a free resource that I have too. You want to let them know that, listen, I'm trying to make more of an impact with the people that I can help, how many folks I can teach, and how many people are actually learning from my content. And in order to do that, I actually know that I need to be communicating with more of you every single week. So to do so, you're actually going to start to receive 2, 3, 4 emails from me in a given week. Here's some topics that you can expect. Give them the opportunity right up front, right? Listen, if that's too much for you, cool. Here you go. You can unsubscribe right here. But if not, then I'm super excited to be able to share more great content with you and learn from all of you along the way. Yeah, and if you preface that, there's no chance that they don't.
I think it's sometimes like a silver line in thinking or adopting this mindset. Am I spamming my audience?
Sure.
Am I sending 2 emails? So yeah. I think it's also a question of mindset and thinking about it or sharing with other people who kind of send this amount of emails and say, oh, no, actually, it's okay because you're going to like send away people who will never be interested in what you do, don't subscribe, and that's okay. People will do that. And then, but you create value for the other who stay and who want to receive you.
100%. So the story that I always like to share as an example for this. So I work with folks who've got 100,000, 500,000, everything across the board on their email list. And I had 2 clients at the exact same time about a year ago. One of them had about 20,000 people on their list. The other had 5,000, and very similar industry, very similar niche, almost identical campaign structure. And after a week and a half of the pre-launch and launch campaign that we had run, you would never guess who actually made more sales. Similar priced product, everything across the board. And it was the smaller audience. They literally had 25% of the audience. And you know what the biggest difference was, though, is that they were 3 times as active. So the folks who had about 20,000 people previously for that past year, they'd send once a week. Every once in a while, they'd send an extra one on a promo or a sale or something like that. The folks who had 5,000, they were sending 3 or 4 times a week. They were doing promos much more regularly, and they're a hell of a lot more diligent with cleaning their list. And so what that shows you right off the bat is that email marketing is not a numbers game in terms of list size at all. The size of your list does not matter. But the ratio of engaged subscribers is huge, right? We want a concentration focus when it comes to our list. And what I mean by that is give me a list that's 25% customers and a tenth of the size over a list that's 5% customers and 10x any day of the week. Because those people are much more engaged. There's much more trust with the brand, and they understand that they're going to buy, quite frankly, just about anything as long as there's a fit from the list that they're on top of, you know, and that's how. So the first week that I launched my course, about like 6 months ago at this point in time, we were able to come out of the door, and I chopped my email list down to just about 0 3 months beforehand, because I was launching a new product and going in a new direction. And in that 3 months, we had about 350 subscribers. We packed a guided program with 15 people, all on the first go. And it was all because of the frequency and the strategies that we've got built up here. And so I say this all as an example. Even if your list is at 0 and you've only got 100, or your list is massive and you haven't cleaned it, there is opportunity for anyone and everyone to actually go out and find the folks that are going to get the most out of their products. Yeah, Phoebe asked a question in terms of spam. Phoebe, most folks actually don't end up in spam. The bigger issue is around like landing in the promo tab, right? Like, and those are, I can't dive into them on here just because it'd be a little bit too much depth and we'd run out of time in terms of how to go about navigating that kind of stuff. But actually mailing more often is the best way to protect you from going into spam, because your deliverability rate is kind of like a reputation ranking. And every time you send an email, the algorithms inside of each email provider, Gmail, Microsoft, whoever else it may be, they're taking a note, right? That's like a tally. So, okay, cool. This one landed in promo. This one landed in inbox. This one went to spam. The thing that's important for keeping yourself out of spam is your ratio again, right? And so the more emails that you're sending, actually the healthier your domain's going to be and the less likely that you're going to end up in spam over time. You know who does end up in spam? Folks who have a list that's 3 or 4 years old that they haven't emailed, right? That's how you end up in spam. And so the biggest way to combat that is simply by sending more often, specifically to your audience that you know is engaged. And got another quick question in terms of like tools that I work with for small business owners who don't have subscriptions to Salesforce and stuff. Yeah, so stay far, far away from Salesforce, HubSpot, all these really big, massive tools. I've got folks who run $1 million businesses on ConvertKit, which is $30 a month for the paid tier and actually free up to 1,000 subscribers. So in terms of tools that I recommend, you guys will see this inside of the content if you check out the mailing list later, but I recommend ConvertKit to about 90% of the folks that I work with, right, who are solo. They've got an audience that's built out, whatever else it may be. ActiveCampaign is an option, but the biggest benefit that you guys have, right, working with Adugo here, is that this is portions of what you have access to. You know, so my recommendation always is to go with whatever is simplest, whatever you have the most access to, and the least complicated. Whatever you're most likely to use every single day, that's what you should go with. Not what anyone says is best, because unfortunately, not to say that they're lying, they're mostly promoting tools that have either worked for them, that they have any kind of a financial interest to go ahead and push, or their scenario is just different than yours. Then you're not going to know what features you do or don't need until you start mailing more often. I hope that's helpful in terms of that one. So we're coming up on time pretty quickly here, and I just want to give a quick overview of some of the different types of emails that we send, right? This is literally what my daily email structure looks like over a given week. I'm not going to read through every single one. It's not as beneficial, but when you guys get a chance to check out the recording, check here for some ideas in terms of what you can actually go about sharing with your audience every single day. Now, we've answered quite a few questions all the way across the board. I want to be able to give Giorgio a spot to be able to talk a little bit more about the platform too. But if we have any one or two, three more questions that I can dive into really quickly, just around the entirety of the presentation, I would love to be able to answer them because I know I just threw a ton at you.
So let's do this. Okay, so if you hear me, okay. So let's do this way. You guys, if you have other additional questions about email and how to build your email list, Jacob will stay with us till the end and answer your question. So what I want to show in my side is, okay, how do, as also Jacob was mentioning, you want to build an audience and you leverage the platforms on different social media, but you want to deplatform that audience. You want to build your own ecosystem. And how you do that as a language teacher or language business owner, one way is to leverage your knowledge, and your knowledge in this case, a course. So you give something for free, which is creating a language course, an evergreen language course, which can function as a lead magnet and provide that free language course to your audience and then attract them within your ecosystem. You can do that. There's many platforms, as you may know, there to create your language, to create courses, as you may know. Some of you who don't. At U2Go, we are actually focusing on helping language teachers, language business owners to create language courses. And I'm going to share my screen. One second. All right, I'm gonna just change this speaker view. All right, so as I mentioned, you can create your language course on the landing page of your own course. So this is an example of a course that we have just created for the demo purposes. I'm not going into detail on how to exactly create the course. I'm just going to show the outcome. If you want to test the platform yourself, you can actually go on the website. I'll share you the link, and there is a free trial you can activate for 14 days. But this is a language course I've created for the purpose of this demo. So it's content mostly based, and there is also a live session. So this is the landing page that you can take this link, share on your social media or as a DM to your target audience, right? So you can put, if you're building an audience on Instagram, you can put this link in the bio and so on and so forth. So students arrive here, they enroll in the course, and they engage with the content that you have created for them. So the content, the outcome, or the content that they're going to interact is very simple. So there are different kind of skills like speaking, reading, that they can practice with this content. I'm just going to show you a very quick overview. So this is for teaching English to Italians, this platform. Obviously, there are for different languages and different targets. And it's only content, so it's an evergreen lead magnet. You can use it over and over again. This is the content. Then there's the community side where students can interact with each other. There's an agenda if you decide to have some live session in addition to the content of the students. Why would I suggest this? Because you can build further trust, especially if you do some live session beside the content. There is a leaderboard, so you can see the students have enrolled. Actually, in the content, you actually see also the students who have completed, so you can track a little bit of the progress that they have done, and you see the results that they have achieved in interacting with your content. So what they did wrong and what they did correct. So you actually can do some personalized feedback as well. You guys see my screen, right? With the content I'm sharing right now. Okay. This is a way for you to, I'm going to share 1 second my other screen. Okay. So beside creating the content, you can actually, every time a student comes in your platform and enrolls in one of your course, which is another important part, is that we enable you to collect also the information from the students, the information such as the email list, phone number, obviously their name, and so on and so forth. And you can do this to further grow your email. So lead magnet, share the course, and then students who arrive in your ecosystem, you capture the email, and then you can build your email list through a simple lead magnet. If you obviously you can try the platform yourself. We have 14 days free trial, so I'm going to share with you the link here. And yeah, that's from my side, just to link a little bit how you can leverage our platform to build your lead magnet and also build an email list of people who would be interested um, in your language course. Uh, that's from my side. If you guys do have questions to for me or for Jacob, I'll be really happy to answer any of the questions that you might have. Okay, so I think there is a question. We already answered this one. Which tools do you work with? Okay, so Jacob, already you answered this question, I think, of loading. Okay, MailChimp, HubSpot. Okay. Okay, if you guys don't have any questions, Jacob, is there anything that you would like to share? Okay, so we have from Phoebe another question: suggestions on cleaning an email list. How do you clean an email list? That's actually an interesting one. After how much time you should clean it as well? I would may add to this, Jacob.
Yeah, 100%. So the number one thing when it comes to cleaning a list, first and foremost, is to actually mail regularly enough to have good data on this. And then secondarily, so it's not an automation that's set up that says, hey, listen, if somebody hasn't engaged with my stuff in 30, 60, 90 days, delete them. What it is more so is it should be behavior focused. So if they aren't engaging with you, think about it as if it was a person one-to-one, reach out and check on them. Right. So having an automation set up or anything else in terms of that basically
I think we lost you for 1 second. Jacob, can you still hear me? I think we lost the sound. Okay, so let's see if Jacob is reconnecting with us in a few seconds. Okay, so there are some technical issues. Sorry about that. It's part of the job. Can you hear us, Jacob? Can you try to?
Yeah, I can hear you guys. Can you hear me okay?
Yes,
Probably
yes, we
not
can
on
hear you.
my microphone or anything. My computer's aggressively trying to crash on me. This is very strange. But in terms of what it looks like to actually go ahead about cleaning your list, the goal, Phoebe, would just be to have a segment that tells you who hasn't engaged in the past 30 days, and then to have something that you can push them through. It says, hey, listen, I want to make sure you're only getting content that's relevant. So if you want to unsubscribe, no worries. I'm going to unsubscribe you in the next 5 days. But if you want to stay, let me know and I'll make sure that I continue to send you some great stuff, etc. That's the best way that I've found to be able to do that, right? Is much more so along the lines of reaching out and kind of like checking on concern than just auto deleting in that sense.
All right. Okay, now clear. Okay. Um, okay, I think we can wrap it up. Jacob, do you want to share? Do you have like some on your side something that teachers or language business owners who want
Yeah,
to know
for
more
sure.
about what you do?
Yeah, definitely. So if you want to take everything that we talked about, because we kind of cover a pretty wide variety today, and you want a little bit more of a guided action plan for it, I've got a free crash course on what implementing all of this stuff looks like. It's called the List Builders Blueprint, and you can grab it at www.emailempire.org/blueprint. Or even if you just go to the homepage on the website, emailempire.org, you can click through and grab it there. I know Giorgio mentioned he's going to share it over with the replay. But again, if you guys want to check out and go ahead and grab that, then that'd be amazing. I think Giorgio is going to drop it in the chat for me there too, if you can, because the computer's freaking out over here and I'm not sure why. But thank you guys so much for showing up today. I am always excited when I see another group of people who's so interested in learning how to engage with their audience more and using email to actually go ahead and do that. So good luck. This is fun.
All
And I
right.
promise you, it's the most rewarding thing that you can do with your audience too.
Thanks for joining us, Jacob. I'll definitely follow up and send you all of your email with the recording as well, and also the links that Jacob has shared with us. Thank you very much for attending our webinar, and at this point, have a great Friday. Looking forward to the next one. Cheers, everyone.